All right, we are live. Happy Friday, everybody. I am here with Tess. And Tess, would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself? And Tess is going to be helping us learn how to reset with our screens. But first, I'm going to let Tess tell you a little bit about herself, her company, and her podcast.
Hi, thank you, Zoe, for having me. I really
No
appreciate it.
problem.
So I am Tess Connolly. My full name is Therese Connolly. I'm a licensed clinical social worker and a parent coach. I've been working with children and families for over 20 years in mental health, so for a long time. And I have my own Parenting Reset membership, and I have a Parenting Reset Show podcast that's coming out actually within the next week or so. So I'm really excited about that. And I work primarily with parents of tweens and teens who are needing a reset. So really who are needing any kind of change, whether it's a small change or a really big reset. So that's part of what I do. It's also part of what the podcast is about, and any kind of issues that do come up with that area of development with tweens and teens. And I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you. I love what you're doing. I can't wait for your podcast.
Thank you.
And we're going to link everything below so that everyone can follow along and make sure that they know when your podcast launches.
Yay, thank
because
you.
it's going to be a really great resource. We have a lot of parents that are tweens and teens that watch this. So
okay, great.
You are going to be talking to us specifically today about resetting our screen time.
Yes.
And I know that over the past year and a half, we've been at home with COVID, and maybe we've been having to use screens in a way that we weren't before because of working from home and all of that. So I wanted to know, how do we initiate a reset if we've been really letting screen time slide in a way that we would like to change this year?
Yes. And this is definitely needed. And I agree. After the last year and a half, and we're still, right? Some parts of the country are really still in this place of the pandemic and needing to be careful. So we've all gotten used to being on screen so much that now we need to shift things. So one of the ways, and the way I do work with parents when I do parent coaching, is I talk about my 5-step parent reset path. So reset, RESET, stands for review, evaluate strategies and systems, execute, implement, and then the transformation. So that's kind of the framework that I think of. But in terms of resetting around our screen time, the first thing to do is for the parents to get on the same page. So that is going to look like, so whoever your partner or wife or husband, whoever is parenting with you, even if you have, let's just say you have help or you have a nanny in the home, whoever that may be, you want to get on the same page around what are your values around screens, what's important, review what's been going on, and evaluate kind of what have the struggles been, where are the main problems. It can look like we're all just on our phone all the time, or it can look like, one of the kids, the 10-year-old is doing gaming so long, but the 14-year-old is constantly on his phone talking with friends. Like, it could be different. So really looking at kind of what has been going on. That's the most important thing. And having an agreement with the parents first. You're in agreement before you then prep the kids. So especially with the population I work with, tweens and teens, you want to let them know that we are going to be having, and this goes into the strategy, we are going to be having a meeting. I do go back to the old school family meetings because I think they're really helpful. It's a way to start and initiate a change, a reset, right? And it's important to let them know, your dad and I, or we've already talked about this. We want to talk with you. What's a good time for you? So that means kind of giving them a little bit of control over, like, when is this going to happen? I would not suggest like Friday afternoon after school, probably a Sunday evening if it's an early dinner, or maybe a Saturday afternoon. We just plan for half an hour or so. We are going to get together and talk about the change that we're going to make. So that's the first thing, is really reviewing, evaluating, and then starting with some kind of family meeting to kind of get on, have everybody together. And with that, I said, I really feel like it's important. You can talk about it and you can make verbal agreements. I think it helps to have it written. So that's going to be important. And I do have a tech reset agreement that I use and that I think you're going to link up for everybody. And that really helps to have a structure to go by. It's also something physical to kind of, for the kids, whether they're younger, elementary, or even teens, to look at and actually physically see. And one of the things that I start out with on that reset agreement is the positive part about connection, that connection and relationship are most important. I like to start there, and I like to let them know why we need to make a change. Because some of the kids, they'll be like, well, what, everything's fine. I've been fine. And you can let them know. And I do think this is important for parents to start. Let them know, and it's not just for screens. I think this is important when you're making any change. Let them know why it's important that you're making this change and that you would like them to be off devices more. And also not just them, you as a parent need to do this as well. We all need to be off of our screens a bit more, because I've done this where I really want more time with you. I want more quality time. I want you to be sleeping better. I want to have more activities, like taking a bike ride or walking the dog together, that kind of stuff. So letting them know why is really important. It gives them a context. Even if I've done this with my 12-year-old, where I start talking about the brain science, about why it helps. And he's like, no, it really doesn't. No, I actually sleep better when I can be on my iPad with my friends right up until the time I sleep. And I said, I know the connection's there and you love connecting, but no, we all know that those blue lights are keeping the brain up. It delays sleep. It affects your deep sleep. So no, really ideally, I was recently looking at something, but it's 2 hours ahead of sleep. We always think an hour, right? Right. I know. Try for an hour ahead, try for the hour. And then you transition to like maybe taking, whoever, the kids or the mom and dad, taking a bath, doing something else, but an hour before sleep is really ideal. I have heard it's really 2 hours can affect it. So you're getting on the same page. You're initiating a family meeting. You're using I think a written agreement does help, because it goes through each different area and you can designate times. I have times of look at what they're doing. Are they gaming on an Xbox and PlayStation? To me, or like Minecraft, this kind of stuff. If they're doing that, I have it, at least in our home, that's on Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. That doesn't happen during the week. Mm-hmm. During the school week. The other things, like maybe playing a little basketball game or going on Snapchat and connecting with friends, can happen during the week for a certain amount of time. So you can designate on that screen time, the agreement, exactly the type of devices and a certain amount of time. And I would definitely get the child or teen's input. So ask them. This has actually been kind of interesting. I have asked my son even years ago when he was younger, let's say I think he was around 9, what do you think? What do you think is a good time? And I have a certain idea in my mind of like, maybe like an hour and a half, that's it. And he'll say, I think maybe like 35 minutes. And I was like, oh, okay. So sometimes it surprises you. So, or if they do go wild, like 5 hours a day after school, well, let's get reasonable. We know that's not going to help. So get their input, because the more you have their input, they're going to feel like they have control over this, and there's going to be more buy-in, and there's going to be more compliance, right? They're going to follow through. Yeah. They're going to follow through with this if you get their buy-in. So I would have each family member give input, even if it's the 7-year-old, like saying, what do you think? How long? And kind of giving them a little bit of input as well. So one of the other areas, besides designating each device, how long, the different days, because it can be different during the week and during them, is also to pay attention. I have found this is how they get off the devices, how they transition off of them. This has been a really big help. And let's see if people want to do this. But I have actually had my son years ago, and he still does it, even at 12. When we do this initial agreement, we just did one recently because school started, right? So school time is different than the summertime. And I have asked him to tell me how he's going to get off. How would you like this? I just want you to call me one time and tell me it's first time. We have something in our house called first time listening. So he likes me to go in front of him and just do the first time, it's time to get off. sweetie, he wants me to do it. And I said, that's fine, as long as that works. Can you practice that with me? So then we role play. And I've done it when he's been much younger. It's 7, 8 years old. He's got to get off the iPad. What is that, sweetie? What's that going to look like? Well, what do you mean? What is it going to look like? Have them actually practice. Okay. So pretend you're on your iPad and you do this in the meeting. You're on your, okay, it's time to get off. Like I'm doing the one time that you asked me to. What? Okay. And then you have them literally practice physically, walk over to you and hand it. And the reason is that is reinforcing the behavior that you want, what you want them to do, which is to get off, and how you want them to get off. So that really helps, is to role play, practice, and at least verbally talk about how will you get off. And if they say, well, what do you mean how? Like, well, how makes a difference. Some kids are like, don't remind me. I don't want to hear from you. Okay. Would you like me to have Alexa go beep, beep? Like Alexa can do a timer. We've done that. Or would you like the Wi-Fi just to stop, which it does in my house at a certain time. He already knows. So look, he's like, oh my God, the time's coming. I got to finish this like baseball game or whatever he's doing. So the Wi-Fi could go off. So it depends on your child's age. It depends on how you want to do it. I would let them have some input. Okay, I want you to come. And some kids, I think it helps to actually do a physical touch, just like, hey, sweetie, kind of it cues them because they've been in another world, right? They're either gaming, they're talking with friends, they're doing something. A physical touch cues them to say, oh yeah, okay, here's real life. Here's the present life. And it cues them, you have 5 more minutes or whatever you agree with, 10 more minutes, 15, whatever time they need to get off that device. And so that physical touch, I think really, I used to do that with my son when he was younger. He doesn't need it anymore, but I do think sometimes it helps younger kids. I think it particularly helps boys too, that there's something a little bit physical. And we also have had a sign where sometimes I don't even say anything. I just use my finger, not like pointing at him, but like, he's like, just go to the one, right? Yeah. And I think it's great because boys tend to be less verbal. So he likes nonverbal cues. So that kind of helps.
I love that you mentioned, giving them some choice in the matter of like, here is what we need to decide on. What would be the most helpful for you? It gives kids such a sense of control. When that's something we don't have a lot as kids, because everyone's kind of controlling our world. Yes. And so I love that you are bringing in the kids once you and your partner have decided on, this is something that we need to do, bringing the kids in and deciding, okay, what are the limits going to be and how are we going to remind? I also love, and I don't know if this would help, but like the timers that you can see,
yes,
how much time is left.
Yep. An actual analog clock sometimes can help to have that in front of them. I've done that before in past years where there's an actual clock in front of him. So he's had a digital clock. Sometimes for some kids, it really helps to see like an actual analog clock where you can actually see the arms and like, oh, when it gets to 6 o'clock or 7, whatever the time is, I got to get off.
Well, and there's cool timers now too, that have like a color that like the color ticks down, which would be really helpful for kids that are maybe a little bit younger that can't totally conceptualize the analog clock. And exactly. I feel like now kids don't understand clocks.
Yeah. I know. Because they seem so old school. Because you can just look at your phone.
Right. Exactly. So now that we've downloaded your sheet that we're gonna link in the comments here, and we've made the agreement, everyone's on board. How do we stick with it long term? Because it almost seems like stuff like this can sometimes be like a New Year's resolution. Yes. And we say, we're going to do the screen time thing and we're going to really pare it down and we're going to go on bike rides and we're going to have family dinner and connect more. But then sticking with it long term is hard. Right.
So what I would say is once you are done with this agreement, and it does say on the, you'll see on the agreement, it does the how to, and then it has what happens if you don't follow through. And there's a little box for that. And it just means I have on there that an example is if he doesn't follow through, and parents can decide this, but he takes a 24-hour screen time break. And that 24 hours, I'll tell you, that helps keep an agreement because he's like, oh my God, I am so going to listen to you the first time or the next time, right? And then what we do in order to get it back is we just do a quick, like 5 or 10 minutes. All right, let's review our agreement. And then I have them review the agreement. You ready to go? You want to practice? Try again. We're going to try again. And that's okay. They may not do it the first, second, or third time, but if you have a way that kind of like holds back on the screen time for a certain time, and it doesn't have to be, I do it for 24 hours because I've got a tween who can manage, he can tolerate a whole day without it. If you've got younger kids, it might just be, sweetie, you weren't able to follow through. They're 7 or 8. You're going to pull it back for like the next hour or two, or just until the next morning, whatever the case is, a little shorter time. So you can kind of figure out what works. So it does help to do that. And the other thing that I had talked about is that in order to stick to it, I would also plan having another check-in for the next week, and keeping the agreement up somewhere where everybody can see it. I do have it on my little kitchen wall where we can look at it and refer to it. And sometimes he'll ask me, like, just because we redid the agreement recently, what do I have for today? Like, and I said, why don't we take a look, and it's right on the wall. Everyone can see it. So it's right there. And you've all also agreed and everyone signed it. So that makes a difference. I think it makes it a little bit more significant. Like, this is important to us. And you've already described why. I want to have more time with you. I'd like you to be doing some other activities. So you keep it on the wall. You have also a list of other pro-social activities they can do. So oftentimes we'll pull screen time, right? But then they're like, what do we do? What am I supposed to do? While you're doing the screen time agreement, making a list, depending on the kid's age, of course, of different things, maybe 3 to 5 other things they can do when you get off or you have that downtime, so to speak. That's going to look like maybe taking a walk, playing Legos. For my kid, I'm like, go outside and go get the Nerf gun and go with your friend down the street. You can do that at 12. And so, have those list of other activities that they can do, that you can refer to, that they can refer to. So it's something else that they can, look at to do. Because otherwise you're going to hear, what am I going to do? I'm so bored. Now I will say there's nothing, I have said this to my son, but there's nothing wrong with them being bored. It's actually good for them, but they don't like to hear that. They don't want to hear, I don't want to hear that it's good for me. So I would revisit the agreement in probably a week's time, check in. How's this feeling for everybody? And for us as parents, definitely lead and model how it's feeling for you. You could say, I don't know about you guys, but having that one less hour at night has been different. It's been hard. And I really miss, scrolling or doing what I was doing, but I also like reading this new book, or I'm glad we did this together. And sometimes it does help to have a transition when you're off screens. I think of like watching a movie together as something a little different. Like, I think of that as a bit more of quality time. So we will tend to do that on Friday or Saturday nights when the screen time's gone, the gaming's gone, but he's still like, we've got a chunk of time. We have watched a movie together, which I think is a great thing to do. It kind of helps to kind of transition, but revisiting, having activities that they can do, like maybe so-and-so's could do these 3 things. The 13-year-old can do these things, and having other activities for them to do really helps, because you're kind of planning ahead. And just know it's going to be bumpy. If you have never done this before, I will tell you, it is bumpy. And I usually go through a few weeks that is bumpy, meaning, he lost it for a day. And I know that for parents, it's on us to hold that. And I would just encourage you to please hold and be consistent to what you put down. If you do it and follow your own rules for yourself around the screens, and you hold to their agreement, oh, you didn't get off. Well, you can try again. You're going to try again in about whatever the agreement is, an hour. Or for my son, it's like tomorrow. We'll start, oh, I can't believe it. It's going to be so long. I know. Remember all those other things you can do, and and give him suggestions, or look at the list of the other things to do. No, it's going to probably take a step back sometimes, but keep going and keep reviewing it. And in a few weeks, it does get to be like, oh, we're doing some other activities. You see them engaging in some other ways, or we're doing other things together as a family. And it feels different, and it feels better to kind of have a bit more time together. Maybe you're all going to cook a meal together. which is something like I think we don't always do. That could be like one of the other activities that you do. So
I
those are some
love that.
ways.
I love the list of stuff that they can do that doesn't involve screens. Cause I think sometimes we're like, well, just go do, you have toys, you have so much stuff, you have stuff in the backyard, like just go do something. But sometimes just having that list to help them kickstart
Yes.
whatever it is really helpful. And giving them choice. And I know some parents also have lists of things their kids need to do before any screen time happens.
Yes. Yep.
Um, you need to
Exactly.
make sure your stuff is taken care of before you get on the screens.
Right.
And so I love just posting all of that stuff up where everybody can
Hmm.
see it.
Yep.
And so the last question I have for
Hmm.
you before we go, you mentioned you and your son recently redid the agreement.
Yes.
Um, how often do you suggest people revisit those agreements and adjust them as kids get older?
Okay. I redid it because we just started school, right? Because summer
Oh yeah.
was a whole different deal.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a little bit of a free for all, but but as he started school in the last 2 weeks, we redid it. We sat down and he's like, I know this whole thing. When we first started doing it, I had him actually go through, we read each section. It's really not that long. It's just a front and a back.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I did forget to mention on the backside, besides the how to do it and what if you don't do it, the consequence, there is also plea, and you'll see it highlighted, but there should be also a reward. So focus on when they are doing it well, praise them, especially if it's that first time and they give it up
Mm-hmm.
or they stop when they're supposed to, and they just say, oh my God, that's great. Wonderful. Like it feels good. I'm so glad to see you. And having that kind of connection with them, that'll really help. Okay, I'm trying to think what else you had asked me about.
When should we revisit and adjust?
Okay, besides revisiting it I do it weekly for a little bit just to make sure for a few weeks. Then I would let it go if it's going well. So if that's working, it's going to take a few weeks to kind of go back and look at it. And then after that, if it is going well and everyone's following through, then I would just let it be. And maybe you just revisit it when you have vacations at a point, or holidays are going to look different, right? Oh, we're going to make a little adjustment here because we've got the big holiday break coming or something like that. And that can look different, like the week off for Thanksgiving or the 2 or 3 weeks off in December are going to look different than what you've been doing. It doesn't need to be something, and I wouldn't necessarily pull it out every single week ongoing because the kids will get sick of it. They want to know, like, this is a big deal. We're making a change. Here's why. Okay, mom and dad want to spend more time with me. So there's a positive to it. And we're all doing this together. And it's a little bit of a change, but we're going to get through it. But it's not something I need to look at. Like, you don't necessarily need to do it every single month. I think when there's a change coming up, especially if there's vacations or holidays and it looks different, then that's a good time to do it. And definitely at the different markers of school and then summer.
I love that. And school and summer also gives a great opportunity as your child gets older. And if you are wanting to give them a little bit more freedom or a little bit more leeway, those are good opportunities to then evaluate whether we can handle that or not.
Right. Exactly. It gives them a different way to like practice, right? The responsibility. That's what I have my son right now. He does not have an iPhone and he really wants one. He's in 7th grade, and where we live, a lot of kids have phones already. And I'm saying, I'm really going to let's see how we just did the screen time agreement, the tech reset agreement. And I said, let's see how this goes for a few weeks. I want to see how responsible you are with the devices you have already, the Xbox or the iPad, and how well you're doing with transitioning off them. And then we'll think about it.
I love that.
That's how
that gives you a good baseline.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Oh,
being
you're
with
so
us.
welcome.
I am going to drop all of these links in the comments. You guys need to go and download this reset document because I think it will be really helpful as we move into a school year that's a little more normal, but a little more not normal. And be sure to download Tess's podcast when it comes out, because it's going to
Yes.
be very great. And I'm sure we will have Tess back again
I'd
as
love
we
to come
move
back.
throughout the school year, because I think we're going to need some more resets
Yes.
when it comes to lots of different things. So
Yeah.
thank you for being on today, Tess. And
You're welcome. Thank
I
you for
hope
having
you
me.
have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too. Take care.